What's going on, everybody? This is a rough outline of where I think I could add some value for you guys. So, roughly, month one, foundation and strategy, month two, due diligence and acquisition strategy, and month three, post acquisition and integration growth. Basically, I think month one is really just sourcing and figuring out exactly what you want to buy and lining up some deals. Ideally, in month two, you're closing because month three is really like 99% of the work. I know everybody wants to have fun with the, oh, how do I structure it, negotiating, and all that other bullshit. But if you don't close a deal, nothing's really going to move. And then, of course, once you do close the deal, it's like, all right, closing the deal was like 2 weeks, and then the rest of the time that you're holding the thing, whether that's 3 months or 3 years, it's all just about growth. So there's a couple like nuanced things like ownership transferring and some things with escrow.com, for example, and like how to do that. And like, do I trust the guys to send the money? There's a couple questions that come up there, but really want to spend some time thinking about post-acquisition integration and growth because that's going to be the majority of the work. And happy to step through stuff that we've gotten really wrong. Some things we've gotten right, but we've definitely got some stuff wrong, things to look out for, etc. So I think hopefully some of those thoughts will be helpful for you. So week one, this is where we're starting. I thought it might be useful to just get more specific on your buy box and where you feel like you're going to be landing in terms of something you want to buy. So some of you guys are technical, so that might be slightly different than people that are non-technical and may want to partner, or at least have a contractor that's coming along with the business, which I would highly recommend. Week two, understanding the SaaS landscape. I don't know if this is needed. This one's maybe a question mark. I don't know how much value there is here, but maybe some trends. We can talk about different markets. We could talk about maybe some AI stuff and how I'm feeling about that or how we're thinking about that. I'd also be curious to hear how you guys are thinking about that. Week three, financials and valuation. So maybe some basics on understanding valuation. Generally speaking, take ARR, multiply it by 2, and try and pay that. Anything else is really just like backing into how do you just pay 2x or less on a deal. Finding opportunities. So yes, of course, this is mostly acquire.com, but there's some useful things that we've done that have gotten us some off-market deals. And really, this is our alpha right now, is figuring out how we as XO, now that we're buying slightly bigger businesses, can partner with venture capital firms to see who's distressed in their portfolio and try and buy them as kind of like an off-market, quiet deal, soft landing type situation where outwardly it looks like everybody wins, but actually we get a great asset for very cheap. So month two, I'm thinking due diligence and acquisition strategy. So a lot of people are confused on what exactly to look for in due diligence. We can go over that. Structuring the deal structuring. Henry on our side really taught me a lot about deal structuring. He's pretty good at it. The guy's a tough negotiator, so maybe I'll bring him in for that part. He would be helpful, I think, to hear from him, or maybe even some emails that we've sent over that are just kind of outlining how we structure deals and how we're thinking about stuff. But generally speaking, you want to keep it as simple as possible. Legal considerations. So, I'm not a lawyer. Nobody on our team is, and we're pretty light on these docs. And a lot of these docs, frankly, from acquire.com are pretty standard and stuff like that. But a couple things to watch out for. People get super weird about non-competes, even though at least where I am in California, they're essentially useless. They're almost impossible to enforce. And we can go over some other kind of legal items to consider when doing an asset purchase. Or if you want to acquire the whole company for one reason or another, that is also something that we can chat about. And week 8, the acquisition process. So this is a kind of a bad name, but we can step through any gaps that you see in your knowledge about what kind of happens from this point forward in the acquisition process. So you have a deal under LOI, you're doing diligence, what then? Post-acquisition integration and growth. What does transitioning ownership look like? It's gone super well sometimes for us, and it's gone terribly on both sides of the table. We just had a sale, and it was a tough transition from some people who, know us and read the blog and stuff, but still, it was a tricky one. Week 10, some growth strategies, so just some ideas on how to grow it, and I think more interestingly is what to look for during diligence, and knowing the answer to this question before you buy the business, I think is really important. It'll give you an edge. You should try to figure out some kind of unfair advantage. I mean, we're still figuring these things out too. Like, what is XO's unfair advantage right now? A lot of times the answer is we don't have one. But if you do, whether that's industry knowledge or industry contacts, etc., that can be cool to outline, and that'll really influence the types of deals that you're looking for. And next up, operational efficiency. So we operate on a shared services model currently, which means that, for instance, we have several engineers, 3 that are full-time. They rotate between projects, and what does that look like in practice? The short answer is that it's a pain in the ass, which is why we're starting to buy slightly bigger businesses so that we can staff dedicated resources to individual businesses full-time and be kind of still operationally involved, but hopefully the ideal version of this is that we're actually a holding company instead of an operations company, which we are currently today. A holding company would be like you have a CEO for each company and they have their own team and stuff like that, and you just sort of check in every once in a while, make sure the business is heading in the right direction. Obviously, everything is still your fault, both the good and the bad, but at least there are dedicated full-time resources to working on the business. Week 12, wrap up and next steps. I hope you guys can stay in touch with each other and kind of work through and become like a little mastermind group. I always think that's really cool. I have that with Danny and Henry, but it took me, 2 years to find the right people, and hopefully by having you all kind of reading the same material, just our blog and kind of coming into the Discord channel will be a self-selecting group of similar, or at least like-minded people that can help each other. Because really, I mean, a lot of these things, unless you acquire something that's directly competitive, it's not really competitive. Even when you're in the deal search stage, it's still really not that competitive, because a lot of times, what you're looking for is not exactly what somebody else is looking for, and it can just be helpful to pass deals around or just get somebody else's opinion on something that maybe you have some questions about, or an industry that you don't know that much about. So that's roughly what I'm thinking for the next 3 months. Let me know if you have any thoughts.